Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Walt Disney World in Florida contains 4 theme parks, each of which having some of the most famous theme park rides ever. As a result, the names of these rides are quite iconic. Some of those I think earn their iconography as great names, others are among the worst names of any theme park ride ever. In this video, since I've not been on nearly every Disney ride, I will be ranking all 50 of them on the website as of June 23rd, 2025, based on their names. The only things to note before we begin, I'm counting rides under refurbishment right now, but I'm not counting any shows. In terms of how I decided these placements, it's very flexible and all over the place. But I generally enjoy a concise name that is easy to say and tells you what the ride is about. This will not be a perfect system, but I will try my best to explain why each ride places where it does. With all that out of the way, let's begin with the worst names at Walt Disney World. Number 50 is the Magic Carpets of Aladdin at Magic Kingdom. This name feels like it was designed to annoy me specifically. I like short names, as I said, and calling this one the Magic Carpets of Aladdin instead of Aladdin's Magic Carpets feels bizarre, and not like the marketplace. It just makes no sense to add extra syllables, extra words, and make the name more complicated. Imagine if Splash Mountain was called Mountain of Splashes. It's just harder to say, more annoying to say, and while maybe not the worst thing ever for most people, it is for me. My least favorite name by quite a bit. Number 49 is Prince Charming Regal Carousel at Magic Kingdom. This one's wordy in an unnecessary way. Many parks might just have a ride called Carousel, and this one could have been called that and would be a better name. Prince Charming being added in feels like an IP plug even if it was unintentional. Very weird to have the blankest character in all of Disney, frankly. Additionally, Regal just doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Royal would have, and I think just calling this the Royal Carousel would have fit much better in the park. Number 48 is the Seas with Nemo and Friends at Epcot. The thing that bothers me here is that the names of the characters are added on at the end. Not an uncommon thing, obviously, but technically, that means the name of the ride is The Seas. And while that's very, very simple, and simple can be good, it doesn't really tell you what the ride is about, because the ride's about Nemo, and I think they should have given it a name that more tells you about that adventure that Nemo goes on in this ride. I know the Seas Pavilion is where it's set, but we're talking about the name of the ride, not the name of the aquarium itself, and I think as a ride name, The Seas is about as lame as it gets. Number 47, Tron Light Cycle / Run at Magic Kingdom. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a slash in the title there. Therefore, this is called Tron Light Cycle / Run. And that is about as ridiculous as theme park names will ever be. The term Light Cycle / Run would imply that Light Cycle and Run are interchangeable. However, the Light Cycle is the vehicle you ride on. The Run is the course you navigate and that experience. So they're not the same. There shouldn't be a slash there. Maybe it was just for style, but they messed up big time. Number 46 is Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid at Magic Kingdom. A very long name. It's 2 in 1, really. Under the Sea feels very unnecessary. Just call it Journey of the Little Mermaid, it's fine. But adding that on and making it the full name of the ride, it just makes the name a lot worse, and I don't like it as a result. Number 45 is Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Magic Kingdom. Apart from the word adventure not really fitting the ride, this is not an offensively bad or difficult to say name. The fact that it's abbreviated to TBA is very funny after all. But otherwise, this loses points for what it replaced. Splash Mountain was one of the very best names. It was very quick, and it tells you exactly what the ride is about. Everybody said, hey, you want to go ride Splash Mountain? No one's gonna say, hey, you want to ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure? They'll say, do you want to ride Tiana's? Or they'll still say, do you want to ride Splash Mountain? So ultimately, while the name is not technically the worst on its own, it is the biggest downgrade Disney will probably ever make in terms of the names of the rides. Hopefully the ride itself is not a downgrade though, I have not been on it. Number 44 is the Wildlife Express Train at Animal Kingdom. Simply called Wildlife Express Train, this has 2 issues. 1, Express Train is a little redundant, just call it the Wildlife Express or Wildlife Express, and you get the same point across. Additionally, there's no wildlife. That is a bit of a dud, very false advertising of Disney to do, And while that's a very minor thing and no one cares, it's a super small ride that nobody does anyway, it nonetheless earns a spot as one of the worst names at Walt Disney World. We now move on to what I consider the mediocre names. They might be flawed, but overall they're not super bad. Number 43 is Main Street Vehicles at Magic Kingdom. This is technically a perfect name. It tells you exactly what the vehicles are, and they're not a major attraction, so giving them a super fancy name wouldn't really fit. That said, it's still kinda boring, so it does land in the mediocre category, and very low in that category. Number 42 is Tomorrowland Speedway at Magic Kingdom. Like Main Street Vehicles, this does tell you what the ride is, save for the fact that it's not very fast, so it's not really a speedway. But the thing that bothers me more about it is that even though I think it is a more interesting name slightly than Main Street Vehicles, the ride should be much more interesting. It is a major attraction. Main Street Vehicles are just a thing that go along on the road that you can hop on. This is something you wait in line for, so I wish they had gone more creative with the name. Number 41 is Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom. Hear me out. I know I just praised Splash Mountain, but there's a big difference between these two names. That's that only one of the rides is actually a mountain. Space Mountain, perhaps intended to look like a mountain, is very much not, especially considering mountains do exist in space and they certainly don't look like that. This might be something that only bothers me, but that's not a mountain in my opinion, and I think if it had been called something else with space in the name, maybe Space Racer, it would have equal iconography while making a lot more sense. This might seem bizarre because you're so used to the name Space Mountain, but if it was called Space Racer from the get-go, I don't think anyone would complain. Number 40 is Dumbo the Flying Elephant at Magic Kingdom. Little to say, this one's mediocre like Main Street Vehicles, but it does tell you what the ride is about. I really have no justification for this one, it just goes here. Number 39 is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure at Epcot. This name has two key advantages over Tiana's Bayou Adventure despite being basically the same thing. 1, it's not replacing a great name. 2, alliteration. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure really rolls off the tongue. And I am just kind of a sucker for alliteration. Number 38 is Alien Swirling Saucers at Hollywood Studios. Swirling saucers, once again, solid alliteration. However, the word alien confuses me here. I think it's supposed to refer to the Toy Story aliens, but in most cases there'd be an apostrophe S. There's Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. This should be called Aliens Swirling Saucers, with the apostrophe at the very end there. Instead it's just Alien Swirling Saucers, as if alien's an adjective. That is a very minor complaint for sure, but it gets to me, so it ranks fairly low. Number 37 is Journey into Imagination with Figment at Epcot. I dislike the inclusion of with Figment since they're trying to bank on the character's potentially existent popularity, but also, the preposition into makes this name kind of difficult to say. I think Journey Through Imagination, or something along those lines, would have been better. Still, the mental image of a journey into imagination is good enough that this name has some good qualities. Number 36 is The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh at Magic Kingdom. This name is not bad despite being long, but it is literally just the name of the movie, so I can't give that much credit here. Not much else to say. Number 35 is Toy Story Mania at Hollywood Studios. Toy Story Mania is a very simple name. It's kind of fun. The word mania is one I certainly enjoy, but otherwise, it's just a mediocre name. It does technically tell you what the ride is about. You may not have guessed it was a shooting dark ride, but you'll certainly guess it's a chaotic Toy Story ride. So it gets the job done, even if I don't like it all that much. Number 34 is Millennium Falcon's Smugglers Run at Hollywood Studios. I think Smugglers Run is a good name. I enjoy saying that. The word smuggler is just a great word. However, adding a Millennium Falcon, while it does technically tell you what the ride is about, makes the ride wordy, and assumes you didn't already see the giant Millennium Falcon parked outside. So I'm not too fond of that. I think it's another way they're trying to put in the recognizable name, kind of like with Figment, to a slightly less offensive degree. Number 33 is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. Same issue. Cosmic Rewind is a great name for a Guardians attraction. However, adding in Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm not a big fan of. Maybe they're trying to make it sound like a movie title, but Guardians doesn't normally have a tagline like Cosmic Rewind. It's always Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. Maybe not Volume 1, they didn't call it that. You get my point. Cosmic Rewind is a great name, bogged down by too many words. Number 32 is Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover at Magic Kingdom. Okay, this is kind of the worst name. With 14 syllables, this one's a mouthful. And the added words before People Mover, while they do fit with a classic Disney attraction, do bog the name down. Granted, I love the word People Mover, so there's things I love here and things that are obviously among the worst, leading to a sort of middle-of-the-road placement. Number 31 is the Barnstormer at Magic Kingdom. This is among the least iconic names. It fits the ride fine, but it's a very forgettable one. It feels like pretty much any ride could have been called the Barnstormer and nobody would complain, so there's not really much to say here. Number 30 is Cali River Rapids at Animal Kingdom. Many river rapids will just be called something like Congo River Rapids, and while the name Congo is definitely cooler than Cali in my opinion, this one's just fine. A little uninspired. I prefer a name like Grizzly River Run, but it is not a bad river rapids name by any means. We are now at what I consider the good names. Number 29 is Navi River Journey at Animal Kingdom. I don't mind the inclusion of Navi at all. After all, Navi are on the ride, and it doesn't feel like it's tacked on. Just being called River Journey would have been too generic, frankly. Maybe they could have gotten more creative with the name, but I do like it. Number 28 is Frozen Ever After at Epcot. Another decent inclusion of the popular name. If it was just called Ever After featuring Frozen, it would have been worse. So this one is a solid name. It's not one that sticks out to me as one of the best, but I can't deny, I do think it's good. Number 27 is Walt Disney World Railroad at Magic Kingdom. A very straightforward one. Maybe you think it deserves to be with Main Street vehicles. But honestly, this name just has a charm to it. Maybe the word railroad is just that irresistible. But when hearing a name like that, I'm immediately like, yeah, I want to hop on the railroad. As opposed to something like Tomorrowland Speedway. That one, you think, yeah, I want to get on the Speedway, and then it's not a Speedway. This one tells you what the ride is in a much more spectacular fashion than something like Tomorrowland Speedway. Number 26 is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Magic Kingdom. As a roller coaster name, I find this one a bit too verbose. Big Thunder Mountain is an awesome name for the structure. I love that. But I think railroad being added on was unnecessary. It isn't called Space Mountain Spaceflight after all, so that is a flaw with this one. But I do love Big Thunder Mountain, and that good part does elevate this name quite a bit. Number 25 is Liberty Square Riverboat at Magic Kingdom. This one is once again a transportation ride name telling you exactly what the ride is. It's in Liberty Square, it's a riverboat, nothing more to it. But the name rolls off the tongue nicely. There are a few syllables here for sure, but Liberty Square Riverboat, it is a fun one to say. There is a bit of a rhyme there with liber and river, which is a stretch I suppose, but I like that. Number 24 is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at Hollywood Studios. Double alliteration here, and that is good. But I don't know if it's a perfect name, because it is another where you just have the IP tacked on, and Runaway Railway has already been used in theme park names before, including many other very similar variations. So it is a little uninspired, but it is still a good name because of just how nice it is to say. Number 23 is Mission Space at Epcot. This name is dumb. I feel like a child playing with astronaut toys would call their adventure Mission Space. However, the fact that it's that dumb kind of makes the name wrap around to being awesome. It does tell you what the ride is about, albeit in a nondescript way, but a ride being called Mission Space is sort of a so bad it's good kind of theme park name. And as a result, I do enjoy the ride's name quite a bit. Number 22 is Star Tours The Adventures Continue at Hollywood Studios. The pun on Star Wars with Star Tours is a fun rhyme, and it tells you what the ride is about. You're touring through Star Wars. The issue I have with this name is the tagline, The Adventures Continue. I know why the tagline's there. It's supposed to be like an actual Star Wars movie name. However, The Adventures Continue does not have the same punch as most actual Star Wars movie names, and I'm not sure what a better alternative would be, but I know there is one. Number 21 is It's a Small World at Magic Kingdom. Technically not the most creative or interesting name, but it's very, very iconic. So it gets a good spot. I don't really have any problems with it. Nothing about it stands out as exceptional to me, but it is undoubtedly a good name. Number 20 is Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin at Magic Kingdom. The added Buzz Lightyear might seem a little obnoxious, but Buzz Lightyear is a cool name, and it fits with the rest of the ride's name so well that it feels like it's supposed to be part of it in a way where if you removed it and just call it Space Ranger Spin, the ride would be worse. Admittedly, while I love that space spin alliteration, the ride is not a spinning attraction, so calling it Space Ranger Spin might seem weird to some. Still, I would consider it a good name overall. We now move into the higher tier, what I consider the great names of Disney rides. Number 19 is Soarin' Around the World at Epcot. Straightforward, the word Soarin' with no G has become iconic now thanks to this ride, and it is just great. I really have no notes on it. Soarin' Around the World is technically a simple name, but you can't not love it. Number 18 is Living with the Land at Epcot. I enjoy saying the full word, so living over livin' gives this one an edge over Soarin'. I also think the alliteration adds some extra points here, and it does tell you what the ride's going to be about. It's a fun educational experience, and the name Living with the Land fits perfectly. Number 17 is Jungle Cruise at Magic Kingdom. One weird thing about this name, I always hear it called, and I myself say, Jungle Cruise. But I feel like it probably should be called Jungle Cruise, emphasizing the cruise part. Granted, the jungle is certainly more important than the cruising, so I suppose it makes sense as is. Either way, it is a very simple name and a very iconic one, and one that grabs you a little more and tells you more about the ride than It's a Small World because of the word jungle. It introduces the main environment of the ride, and it does a great job at that. Number 16 is Slinky Dog Dash at Hollywood Studios. Dog Dash is a nice alliterative phrase for me, the name is quick and concise, and is a fun one. You can pretty much assume it's going to be a roller coaster based on the name, and I think it was just the perfect fit for this family coaster. No notes, even if it isn't necessarily among my very favorite names. Number 15 is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Magic Kingdom. I was hard on this one in my previous video with Disney name rankings, but honestly, it's quite great. Obviously, mine train names can be pretty simple, like Runaway Mine Train at many parks, but this fits. It's a very basic name that I really have no issues with. I do wish the word dwarf was dwarves, but that's just improper. That's very much a me thing. I don't know if I can fully justify putting this one as high as I did, but I think Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is a great name. Number 14 is Avatar Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom. Honestly, this one suffers a lot from the added inclusion of the IP. Flight of Passage is an awesome name. It would fit the ride well, tell you what it's going to be about before you get on, and it just sounds fantastic. Granted, I really wish the word Avatar wasn't there. It feels pointless. I don't think enough Avatar fans are going to Animal Kingdom for the sole reason of going on an Avatar ride that you needed to have that there. Just let this be Flight of Passage. It would have been top 10 if they did. Number 13 is Gran Fiesta Tour starring the Three Caballeros at Epcot. Honestly, Gran Fiesta Tour is an awesome name. It feels a bit more grand and spectacular than maybe the ride actually is, but I think it's great. Every word makes sense. Tour, you are on a tour indeed. Fiesta, a lively word, and the ride is indeed lively. And gran, okay, maybe is a little exaggerating, but I think the whole name just works well on every level. And the way they include the characters, being starring instead of something like with, I think it's a much better way to do that. So I really can't complain about anything on this. Technically a little verbose as a whole, but I do think it's a spectacular name. Number 12 is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance at Hollywood Studios. A great name that feels like an actual Star Wars movie title. Frankly, I thought Rise of the Resistance is what Rise of Skywalker was going to be called, and I think it would have been a better name. I don't really have any complaints here. The use of Star Wars is good. I suppose the one thing I could complain about is that the resistance does not really rise in this ride. The whole thing is trying to bail you out of a failed mission, basically. So, it's not perfect. But still, it is very much a great name. Number 11 is Astro Orbiter at Magic Kingdom. The name is simple, but it's pretty much perfect for this kind of ride. A spinning ride in Tomorrowland being called Orbiter, it just makes sense. What else could you possibly call it? It's just the perfect name. And the fact that the ride is pretty tall, being way high up in Tomorrowland, fits the space theme better than many other rides might have. So it being called the Astro Orbiter is great. I think it's also a fun name to say, and even though it's not technically spectacular, I have no faults with it, and I just kind of consider it fantastic. We have now reached the top 10. Number 10 is Spaceship Earth at Epcot. It's such an intriguing name. Not only is it an oxymoron, it just sounds so awesome. It's become synonymous with the geodesic sphere itself, and I don't think anyone is not hooked by this name. It earned its iconography, no doubts. Number 9 is Mad Tea Party at Magic Kingdom. The perfect execution of an IP-based attraction. This is themed to Alice in Wonderland for sure, but it's not called Mad Hatter's Tea Party. The park allows you to fill in the gaps. It's called Mad, you see the Mad Hatter, you can guess it's about the Mad Hatter. And Mad works here. You can spin the ride so fast that it makes sense to give the ride a word that's synonymous with crazy in the title. Mad Tea Party is just a great name. It's iconic, fun to say, and a flawless execution of an IP-based attraction. Number 8 is Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom. I can't justify this one. It's one word, and it's stealing the name from a bad movie, a flop in fact from Disney. But it's called Dinosaur. How can a kid, even an adult frankly, not be immediately grabbed by the name Dinosaur for a ride? Nothing else added. Not Dinosaurs Alive, not Dinosaur Adventure. It's just Dinosaur. It's perfect. Number 7 is Haunted Mansion at Magic Kingdom. Simple and straightforward, but perfect. It's hard to justify this one because there are other Haunted Mansion titles out there that are just not as famous because they're not at Disney. But still, it's Haunted Mansion. Who's not going to be hooked by that? It is the perfect name for this attraction. It's simple yet effective. Number 6 is Expedition Everest, Legend of the Forbidden Mountain at Animal Kingdom. That tagline brings this one down way more than it maybe should. Expedition Everest on its own is perhaps the greatest theme park ride name ever. It would definitely be number 1 on this list. Glorious alliteration. 2 awesome words that tell you exactly what the ride's gonna be like. Expedition Everest. I don't think I even need to explain anymore. It is flawless. It is wonderful. But Legend of the Forbidden Mountain is wordy, and that brings this one down. I do think it's kind of a cool tagline. It's not super bad. If they called it Expedition Everest Encounter the Disco Yeti, it would be a way lower name even if it is kind of funny. It is not the worst use of a tagline, but I think there is no reason for the official name to have that in it. Still, Expedition Everest is a good enough name that it got top 10 for sure. Number 5 is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios. Just Tower of Terror would have been basically like Haunted Mansion, basic, but slightly better because of alliteration. And the Twilight Zone being added in, I can't tell if it makes the name better or worse. On one hand, throwing Twilight Zone in at the beginning is just kind of throwing in the IP again, and just calling it the Tower of Terror would have gotten the point across. However, Twilight Tower Terror added alliteration. And if we're not going off of phonetics, then the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is even more alliteration. As a result, I think the inclusion of the Twilight Zone slightly improves the name, making the somewhat simple Tower of Terror a bit punchier. And Tower of Terror on its own was going to get top 5 anyway, so this name definitely earned a top 5. Number 4 is Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith at Hollywood Studios. The starring inclusion, similar to Three Caballeros, is good, and it makes sense because it's the kind of thing you would see in an actual music video. However, the reason this got so high on the list is that Rock and Roller Coaster is just perfect. Rock and roll. roller coaster. It's just such a fun way to combine the names. And maybe someone besides Disney could have come up with this on their own, but nonetheless, Disney's the one that got it, and as a result, Rockin' Roller Coaster is one of the best theme park attraction names ever. Too bad it's gonna change soon. Number 3 is Pirates of the Caribbean at Magic Kingdom. Pirates of the Caribbean. A name so good it spawned its own movie franchise. Though I guess the ride did that more than the name. But nonetheless, the name, it tells you what the ride is about. There was nothing to dislike about it. And the way it's said, Pirates of the Caribbean, has become so iconic that I didn't know the Caribbean Sea was pronounced the way it is for quite a while. It's just the ultimate iconic Disney name. Probably the most famous one at this point, and no doubt, one of the best. Number 2 is Kilimanjaro Safaris at Animal Kingdom. There is a bit of a rhyme in there with the Kilimanjaro Safaris, and that sticks out to me, but also, it's just the perfect name. While technically yes, Mount Kilimanjaro is nowhere to be found, so it's not technically Kilimanjaro Safaris, but pretend it's at the base of the mountain. No one takes safaris on Mount Kilimanjaro anyway. Besides, this makes the ride feel so immersive. The fact that the title of the ride feels like the actual name of a possible outfitter down in Tanzania, it just works. It immediately hooks you. You're not getting on a ride called Dinosaur or Expedition Everest. You are partaking in Kilimanjaro Safaris. And that makes the name even more special. Not to mention, the immediate beautiful imagery that pops in your head with this name is the very best of any on this list. But number 1 is Test Track at Epcot. I went on this ride as a kid, and of all the names of rides, none intrigued me more than Test Track. It is everything I like about a theme park name in modern day, and it still had me floored back when I first rode this 13 years ago. It's 2 words, 2 syllables. The name is alliterative, but also very easy to say, because even if you don't fully pronounce the word test, the fact that the syllable at the end of the first word and the syllable at the start of the second word are both the same, you can just say Test Track, but say it fast enough that you're just saying it normally, and nobody will know the difference. So Test Track is about as easy a name to say as possible. And the words are just perfectly chosen. The ride is a test. You're testing out the cars, but it's also a test of if you can handle the thrills of this ride. It was the biggest thrill at Epcot for quite a while, and I was always hooked by that as a kid. And then there's track. I don't know what it is. Obviously, most rides are on track, and in this one you go on a racetrack at the end, but something about that full name, Test Track, it had me intrigued. It made the ride feel futuristic just by being that name, I guess because a lot of things are tested in scientific labs and mechanical things, so it makes sense for a futuristic thing to be associated with tests. But also, just being called Test Track, I was like, wow, what are we going to test? What is the track like? What is this experience? I can't fully explain it, but apart from having the sort of grammatical things that I personally love in a modern name now, Test Track is just an awesome name. I really can't fault it. And while I do think I prefer the name Expedition Everest on its own, because of the current situation, Test Track is the best attraction name at Walt Disney World. Thank you for watching this insane ranking. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please comment down below your thoughts on any of my placements. Subscribe for more theme park videos. I'll see you next time.